Where to Hunt podcast. It's okay.
Hi, I'm Dan Small, host of Outdoor Wisconsin, and I listen to Where to Hunt.
Nah, it's okay.
I'm Kurt Geyer with Working Class Bow Hunter. I listen to Where to Hunt podcast, and it's decent.
It's all right.
Hey, this is Bud Fisher with Catching Deers, and I think the Where to Hunt podcast is all right.
Sponsor. There we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Where to Hunt podcast, the podcast that connects public land hunting enthusiasts. Today is July 27th. It's the 21st year of the 21st century. Is that right? 2021? I don't know. I'm going off the rails, guys. Sorry.
He's lost. We've been drinking for hours.
Lost in the sauce.
Yeah, you've been lost in the sauce.
Let's play an ad. Let's just help me here.
Whether you're at work, in a tree stand, or simply waking up, it's important to be alert. There's no better way to get there than with Backwoods Grind Coffee. Ground fresh for every order, delivered straight to your door. Backwoods Grind Coffee.
All right, so 10% off for those guys. You can use code W2H Podcast. And we just cheered to some Drop Tine 12-point bourbon. We're also going to be sucking down some of their moonshine, their apple-based moonshine, which is frozen, nice and cold in the freezer because it's really freaking hot outside if you haven't been out there. And in studio, we could do the Spartan Forge ad. You're going to get 20% off their app to use code W2H, but they're here. This is Bill. Bill is Spartan Forge as far as I'm concerned at the moment.
As far as it goes, yes.
Yeah,
I guess so.
He's the man, the myth, the legend. He is the data nerd. That is the guy that built the neural networks. And I don't know, we've been talking for, what, at least, has it been a year?
No, more than that,
It's been more than that.
It's been more than a year. This is the second time you've been in my house. So this time you've been in the house because last time it was full on COVID and we're like sketched about people coming into our house. So
yeah.
Plus I didn't know you as well then or not. You know,
right.
I'm like, let this fucking weird dude in my house
Coughing
or what?
all over each other.
Did I start a fire at least last time?
We had a fire.
Okay. I remember
I think
that.
you grilled something too, if I recall.
That's
Maybe
possible.
I don't remember.
We drank, we had a fire, we talked about philosophy and old wartime generals from the Roman Empire.
We did, didn't we?
Life. Yeah. And this time Greg's here.
This time it was mostly fart jokes.
Yeah.
And accents. Yeah. We have the Terminator and Kermit the Frog.
Hi ho, Kermit the Frog here.
Yes, this is Arnold. I'm here for the Where to Hunt podcast. I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Jealous that I can't do a fucking accent.
Just do it.
There it is.
The chopper. Get to the chopper.
See, I did some weird thing at the end there. I don't know what happens.
Just
I think my brain just disconnects.
Yeah.
Greg can do a good one. It's here.
What? The yo.
I can just do that.
Everyone can do the
Everybody can do that.
Yeah. I don't got much else. Well, you, at least in the chat or the live broadcast stuff, I put that we're going to talk about the veteran hunt, but there's a good chunk of people I think that are going to tune in. Some folks shared on Instagram. You got a great pro staff, like the dream team of dream teams of pro staff.
I think they're the best.
Yeah, it's better than our OKS Hunter bro staff.
They're the best of the best of the best.
Well, it's to be seen, right? We haven't had a season yet.
Right. Yeah.
You guys might kill it.
We should put our OKS Hunter crew bro staff against your pro staff, and we would lose.
That would be a ton of fun. No, it would be a lot of fun.
We should pair them up, actually. That would be
That'd
fun
be even more
learning
fun.
session for everybody.
Yeah.
Because your guys really know how to freaking kill some big deer, and our guys are like, is it brown?
Then it's down.
Yeah,
It's down.
exactly. You know how to finish.
Well, that's how I am. That's why I brought these guys on.
How far are you with the app and everything now? Like, where is everything?
Is it an app?
We're testing right now as we speak.
Okay.
And your Android's a bit further along than Apple, and I can tell you from experience, Apple's a pain in the dick to deal with getting it live in the App Store. You'll get there, but it's just not as straightforward as like the Android platform.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm bringing it up right now just to show Greg that it's an application. You see that?
It's very beautiful. And you got it set up for ambidextrous people, or if you're right-handed or left-handed?
Yeah, you can switch around the controls. So if you're a right-handed guy, and then you have your diary here and some stuff we're not talking about yet, but that'll be coming up pretty soon. And then you have your weather and your tools. And
He said tool.
I thought you were going to say poop, but that didn't come.
He said tool.
So obviously, people that are listening in that might not be familiar just yet. I know you got a good boilerplate for this thing by now. You've been on a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, I artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
best way to say it. I've never, heard myself on a podcast before. It's kind of disconcerting.
It's fun to hear your voice kind of loop
Is
back
it?
to you. I can turn yourself off.
I feel like I sound way different on this thing than I do in real life.
I had some buddies over the weekend, and I brought them up here, and we were drunk, and we were just doing this.
Much like we
and
are
they're
right
like,
now.
hey. They're like,
yeah, that's how I feel right now.
I should record it because it sounded like the dumbest thing in the world.
I have a much higher voice or lower voice. I don't know. But yeah, so artificial intelligence platform, what we've done is I've spent it's going on 8 years now collecting caller GPS data to train neural networks to do prediction on basically when deer will be moving the most and where deer will be moving the most. And we brought this pro staff on, and we've got a bunch of other cool tools like the diary feature and historical weather analysis and some really good stuff that I think is going to kind of centralize a lot of the stuff that people have to go out and do and get piecemeal right now.
You do have to do that. Like we've talked about this. Like I use the app Windy, right? And I really enjoy that app, but I have to go in there. And I actually think there's some things to be desired in that app that I'm not a big fan of. Like it doesn't pinpoint where you are automatically. You have to like find yourself, which is kind of silly.
Yeah, I'll take all of that input if you have it at some point.
Well, your pro staff is pretty good at doing, like, they're in the beta test mode. So they're actually giving you feedback from guys that are getting shit done.
Yeah, just the Android guys right now.
Okay.
One of our Apple, we had a couple of things. One of our founders' father is battling COVID right now, and he's one of the main developers. So he took some time away. And then another one of our developers got COVID. So between those two things, we slowed down on the Apple side significantly. Hence the problems of a small business.
What is the split? Do you know? Are there, like, is it 50-50 as far as Apple users versus Android users? Just overall,
it's way more like Apple.
Full market is Apple has more market
as
penetration.
I do the market analysis, it's shaking out to be like 65% are Apple.
Wow.
Interesting.
In the hunting realm anyway. And
That's fascinating because years ago in 2014 we launched Where to Hunt app. It was primarily the demographic had Android.
Is that right?
Uh-huh.
So it's funny how that's changed. I would have thought it would have changed the other way.
Yeah.
But like all of the pro staff, with the exception, I think, of Garrett Prawl, I think all of them are Apple.
Oh, Jesus.
So I was like, hey, Apple or Android's ready. Who's ready to download? And Garrett's like,
me.
And everyone else is like, we don't use that crap. Like
it's nice when everyone's on Apple then too, because you're all in the same, like the iMessaging and the you send like a group message with a video, like it never fucking works if there's one Android user in their group using like.
Yeah, I'm that guy. I also have buddies who have Apple, like external to hunting buddies who have Apples, and they're constantly like, because I use an Apple phone to test the application. So they're like, hey, answer your Apple phone. I'm like, it's in another room. Send it to this phone. He's like, I can't because you're not on that.
Yeah. I don't know why that is, though, by the way. I have no idea.
And then he'll screenshot me a message and send it to me.
That's great. Yeah, anytime I try to send a video to my folks, my dad's got an Android, and everyone else in the family has an Apple. So then it doesn't freaking send right because it's his phone that's causing the problem.
Yeah, so I guess I think I explained it all, right? Artificial intelligence company.
Yeah, but you have, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it empirical? Is that the word I want to use?
Empirical is a good word
because it's scientific. It's more objective than just.
It's not subjective, right?
Right.
Yeah,
because of the collar data that you've collected.
Yeah. So the collared deer data, right? A deer is born, or it's darted with some kind of
put a dart in your neck, man.
Put a dart in your neck, man. Or it's knocked out, right? Or netted, and then they collar it with a GPS collar, and then they let it go. And when that deer is moving more, it's responding to its external environment. There's evolutionary programming or circuitry there that the deer is using to respond to its environment. And the challenge of the neural network is to understand all of that.
I'm sorry. Let's back up a second.
Oops.
What did you say about the deer with it's responding to its
environment?
More, what was it? You said it's like using neural.
That's the challenge of the neural network.
Okay.
Is to basically demystify that underlying circuitry of the deer. So
deer are using compounding knowledge themselves.
Well, I would say it's compounding knowledge. I would say it's evolutionary knowledge that's manifesting itself in circuitry. So I always use the this got deep really quick, Greg.
Man, I want to go to where other people have not been.
So, well,
you're good at that.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I always use the analogy that when someone gets goosebumps, right? That's a part of your programming.
Interesting.
You're born with that. And so, deer, as far as we know, don't have any higher consciousness. So there's, they're not.
He gets goosebumps when Dreamweaver comes on the radio. So
No Dreamweaver. This podcast is going to get real weird. Huh?
Yeah, it's really good.
It's like one part freaking off
Serious,
shenanigans,
but
and
then
that's
Wayne's
what we
World.
said. We called it out.
and I successfully derailed the train.
Yeah, good.
But okay,
Keep doing
but I
that.
am.
So anyway,
Yes.
they have the circuitry, right? That's telling them, hey, you're low on fat, or you're smelling estrus dose, or it's windy and you're not safe.
So they're like almost all croc brain.
oh, what?
Croc brain? The croc brain?
I don't know what that means.
Oh,
You know what
God.
that
There's
means,
like a
Greg?
name
What
for
the
the
hell?
croc
I
brain.
don't even know you right now.
Oh, I'm just the most primitive part of our cognition is called the croc
Wow.
brain, right?
Who coined that?
A bunch of people. I'm trying to. There's a specific name for this.
Like
part
the
of
lizard brain?
Yeah.
So
The
anyway,
He's got to find his facts. Hold on.
find the
the
facts.
is it the neocortex?
Satellite.
Neocortex is what I was
That's what I
referring
was.
to.
So that's what I'm referring to.
I don't know. I've never heard it called a croc brain
Okay.
before. So yes, there's circuitry there that when you think of like white-tailed deer, they have automatic responses. And so a lot of it isn't being even processed. It's just happening automatically. So scent hits a deer's nose and it's gone before it knows anything. Or it hears a bow getting loosed and it ducks the arrow, right?
Yep.
That's all happening at a level so fast because that circuitry is wired directly to the spine. And so that movement's happening before the deer is even processing it. So you can think about it like if Greg's standing out in the front yard and I toss a football at him when he's not looking,
He's gonna hit in the face.
well, but sometimes you catch it
Yeah.
and you don't know.
Whoa,
You're like, wow, I
it's
didn't even think
a
about
reaction.
that, right? And that's circuitry that was probably for us to react to like a rattlesnake
Mhm.
or a branch falling. And so a lot of people are like, I didn't even think about that. It just happened. And the reason why is because you actually have a circuit that bypasses your optical cortex. So it goes right past instead of your eyeballs being coordinating what you're seeing and sending it to your spinal cord, and then you're reacting.
Mhm.
It's actually bypassing that nerve and it's going straight to the
Like the subconscious is acting on your behalf.
in a little bit. Yeah, that's one way of thinking about it.
Okay.
But basically, you're reacting and you're not thinking about it.
Yep.
You're wired to react. Like you might be walking in the woods and you might jump from a snake before you realize you saw a snake. Like you actually have a snake detection circuit to avoid snakes.
Yep.
Same thing with deer.
I've heard it called circuitry. This is why
Oh,
that's
circuitry
the word that like set this off because
Oh, I see. Yeah, wiring.
Yep.
Right.
How you're
Circuitry.
hardwired.
How you're hardwired, right? What you're born with, what you come to the table. That's why I was talking about goosebumps before, right?
Yep.
You don't
What your
control
mom and
that.
dad gave you.
we had goosebumps when the Exodus guys were in the studio here because they were talking about small aside. This is worth rehashing because it'll probably
Okay.
give you both goosebumps and we can bring this experiment to life.
Here it comes.
One of
Just
their
wait for it.
relatives fell out of a tree stand, but he didn't recall. He wasn't slipping. He didn't lose his grip. So when the paramedics got there, he said, it felt like I got pushed. Is that weird? And they're like, well, that's funny because 10 years ago, the same thing happened out of the same tree. And the guy said the same thing.
Yeah, right.
And they said, well,
No
that was
joke.
an old lynching tree back in the early days.
Oh, goodness.
Goosebumps.
There it is.
I just got them, I think.
Yeah. So they shared that story. I was like, oh my God.
That's creepy.
Goosebumps, right?
Remind me, I have a ghost story for after
Okay,
this,
go ahead.
but separate from this. But anyway, so the challenge of the neural network, right, is to figure out what that circuitry responds to
Mhm.
from a stimuli perspective, weather, topography, vegetative cover. All of these things are because the deer lacks higher consciousness like we have, or we're trying to kill right now.
Right.
The deer is just reacting to the environment. So
Yep.
the neural network is taking in all of the movement points and it's looking at the aerial topography data. It's looking at the aerial cover data. It's looking at LiDAR data. It's looking at 30 years of weather data. It's amalgamating it's collecting and combining all of this stuff.
Amalgamating is a really cool word.
It's a good word.
It's a big word.
Combining and putting together all of these things.
Tradesman over here. Okay. Not
You have big
college
words.
educated.
Big words have a lot of weight when they're coming 4 letters.
Right. Anyway.
So anyway, it puts all that together and it's trying to draw patterns. And then once those patterns are testable, in other words, when we get data that we haven't seen,
What's the threshold for that data? Like how many data points you need?
we weren't going to become a company until we had 60% prediction.
Okay.
So in other words, we get random GPS data, and across 6 different buckets. There's 2 sets of buckets. There's core area movement, transition area movement, full range movement, and then there's regular pattern, irregular pattern, very irregular pattern. I can't speak right now. It needs to place. It needs to make a prediction on what deer will be doing across those buckets 60% of the time. In a lot of places, we're up to like 71, 70%.
Which is why it took 8 years to build this out.
Yeah, and
some
it took
degree.
a ton of data,
Yep.
millions of data points until the machine was able to extrapolate all of those inferences.
I have a question from Andy May.
Oh goodness, this is payback.
I haven't read it yet, so I'm not sure if it's going to be
He's hawking
if
us.
he's setting you up for failure here, if it's a legit question. Can you ask Bill what have been the top 2 factors that seem to increase movement from the data he's gathered? So that's a legit question. Thanks, Andy.
That is a real question. Thanks, Andy. I guess I'll focus on the Midwest because I think Andy's in Ohio, right?
Michigan.
Oh, Michigan.
Thank you.
That's right. Very good.
Greg's
That's the Midwest, right?
He's got a steel trap.
That's the Midwest, right?
Yeah, it's the Midwest. That's fair.
Yeah,
It's
very good.
Midwest.
I get Ohio and Michigan fucked up all the
Just
time.
across the pond.
It's the western part of the
I get
Rust
Michigan,
Belt,
Ohio time.
right? That's the beep
Okay,
button.
I
That's
just
the-
do it.
later.
That's my first time
ever on the show.
using the beep button.
I just got beeped on the Southern Outdoorsman podcast last week. And that's the first
I
time
don't-
I've ever
it'll
been
just
beeped
mark
in
it
my life.
explicit.
Well,
So anyway,
Top 2 factors,
yes,
right?
in the Midwest. I'm recalling this from the top of my head. It would have to be there, lowering. Yeah, raising barometer.
Really?
Yeah, raising barometer has to do with it, but a lowering barometer will do it if temperature is lowering as well.
sure.
But it depends on how far north you are. There's a point, and it's somewhere in here where the data starts to skew towards where temperature is lowering and pressure is rising. And I want to say it's near here, or it could be north of. Maybe it's north.
Oh
of
yeah,
the Great
last
Lakes.
fall. In fact, I think we talked the day I shot my buck, and you're like, "You need to fucking get out there." You were here,
That's right.
and then you're like, "Dude, this is."
And
the
you
week."
asked me what the prediction was
Yeah,
saying.
we
and
talked.
I
You
said,
told me. You told my wife. I said, "Tell my wife that."
Yeah, I
Yep.
remember that. So I believe it's in this area. So yeah, temperature and pressure have a lot to do with it.
Mhm.
That's
Well, everyone
one.
thinks so. Let's compare that against cold front because everyone thinks cold front. I got to be out
It
there.
does not mean that.
Okay,
It does not mean that.
is that a
So-
myth? Are you doing some
No,
myth
it's not a
busting?
myth. It's just lowering pressure generally corresponds with a weather event, but
Got
not
it.
always. But then the second thing there, the second most, most importantly, it's how many favorable feeding days there were before that event. So in other words, if the deer have put on a lot of fat up to that point, especially when you're talking about mature bucks up here, they're more likely to sit out 1 or 2 days of bad weather than they are to do what all the other deer are doing, which is go and feed
So
as much
things
as
to
they can.
take into consideration are the bean fields all
Well,
done,
have
or-
there been favorable feeding days? In other words,
days really had the opportunity to feed.
yes,
Got
have they
it.
been feeding a lot, or has there been a lot of nasty weather? That's why you could use like a regression model, which is what some of these other people are doing to do deer prediction. Doesn't work really well because it's only focusing on the now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't have all the historical
It doesn't.
stuff behind
It's not putting in the last 3 months of weather.
it. Got it.
Think about it like if say you've been on a diet, right, and you're not eating any bad food, but now you've reached your goal, right, and now you're
gonna
go
have some
somewhere and
frickin'
eat, like-
nachos.
yeah, right. You're gonna eat something that's not good. So you'd be more likely to, if I were trying to target you or find you, I'd be more likely to find you at one of those
At
places
Culver's.
after two
Yeah.
or 3 months of eating really well,
Yep.
right? In other words, you are taking into consideration your fat stores. So the biggest two for up here, for movement up here, and I'm talking about outside of the rut, is that those corresponding temperatures and pressure changes, coupled with how many favorable feeding days there were before that event. In other words, if deer have had plenty of nice weather and to feed, or it's early season, they're not getting a lot of pressure, it really doesn't matter at that point. But once there's pressure, that's in the data, that's where we start to see where weather especially gets a vote. Like if people are looking at the Spartan Forge app, or and that's not an app now.
That's a
it'll
good
be
way
an
to say
app
gets
soon.
a vote. That's a good way to
The
say
program online in the summertime, you're going to see a ton of full range movement and then a ton of core movement and then a ton of full range movement and a ton of core movement. And that's just because it's looking at, there's no pressure and the GPS data knows that. The GPS data sees that during summer months when there's no hunting seasons, deer are moving all the time. Or they're not moving at all when when the buds start to happen on the trees and there's lots of caloric on the buds, eating off of trees or on the orbs on the ground, those types of things. Then they can stay in their core areas, right? But then once that's gone and the leaves start to go and there's cover, now they need to disperse. And And they're more likely to do that and be in a full range movement pattern because there's no pressure.
Interesting.
But then as the seasons come in and there starts to be pressure in the woods, now they're responding to I'm not saying the buck thinks this. What I'm saying is the evolutionary circuitry is suggesting you haven't had a lot of favorable feeding days. Your fat storages are low. The body knows it needs this much fat to make it through the winter.
It's time to head to the cornfield.
Right. Risk your neck, get to that cornfield early and get as much feeding done as you can.
Sure. Makes sense.
I had a thought, but I
was pondering.
I'll just lean on Andy's question. He had an alternative question. Same question. Factors that limit movement rather than prohibit it.
Up here, wind has, but also when people say, limits movement, then they think, oh, that means I shouldn't be hunting. And it's like, couldn't be more the opposite. Like that's a really good time to be hunting.
Hunt in the wind. I always do.
It just changes and that's why in the app, other apps say it's a great day to hunt or a horrible day to hunt or deer will be moving early or deer will be moving late. That's not what our application is doing. Our application is just saying, are they going to be focused in their core areas during daylight hunting hours? They could be focused in transition areas or they could be found anywhere in their range so that you can just adjust your hunting style based on what you're being told by the neural network.
It's interesting. Apps like HuntStand, you have all of this user input. You build out your geofence for your hunting area. You add your stand, your food plots, you add all this shit, right? Which is great. It's very journally. It's very like you're building your virtual environment of your physical environment, I think. It'd be interesting if those apps or if your app or if a combination thereof, the two were to say like this stand is where you want to be today based on all the shit you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Or that stand. So I don't know that they're not going to get there because they don't have what you have.
It doesn't take away the hunter out of being a hunter. It's giving you the general idea of, hey, where you should be.
Yep.
But you're still going to have to be a hunter and go out and do your scouting and
still can't kill from the couch.
That's right.
And you're still talking about the general deer. Yep. Right? When we say the general deer, we're not talking about the 150 class, 106 class. Maybe you'll get there, but you're still talking about
the general's 200
6
class.
out of 10 deer are going to do this on average. That's the median deer.
Yep.
That you can expect to see more activity than not based on all of these factors, lots of factors.
Yep.
One question just came through from one of our listeners, Alex. He said, just curious, what kind of data or do you have any tracking collar info for Kansas?
I believe I have. This is
all these guys are going to put you on the spot. This is what's the advantage
there's
of
so
doing
many
live.
states of data. I want to say that I have a small amount of publicly available data from like studies that were published in Kansas, but I also believe Kansas is on my list of states to gather more data on. But we have a fair amount of data for states that surround it. What I can say is, like Kansas data won't have a lot in common with Mississippi data.
No,
but it will have a lot in common with like Nebraska or Northern Arkansas or something. It will have more in common.
Get you guys showing off your geographic skills,
huh?
Get you showing off your geographic skills.
What?
What?
I've been
math
a few
skills.
I've been a few places.
Been around.
I can't do math. I can't do geography. I can't do grammar.
I'll head to North Dakota with you.
I'm down.
Our buddy Ryan over at Deers and Beers. Deers and Beers is a good.
Deers and Beers. I love those guys.
Us too.
I have never. I think I've maybe sent them some messages on Instagram, but those
they're going
guys
to be debuting on our new flavor here pretty soon.
way underrated.
Yep. Yeah. Underrated. They're great. Thoughts on Moonface? He asks.
So this is a sticky subject.
Always is. It is. 'Cause you got guys that live and die by the moon, and you got guys say it's full of shit.
And you have guys on both sides. That
I don't
do
care.
Well
but
both.
maybe I'm missing out on something.
So I use the word heuristic all the time, and people are always asking me,
Yep, definition.
what does that mean?
Definition.
It's like a rule that's good enough or that functions in the context of how you learn things.
Sure. It could be. You could be right on both sides of the coin.
Exactly.
Yep.
Or like you adjust yourself
Enabling someone to discover or learn something for
on their own.
themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but what happens is that once you have a heuristic, like, I hunt by the moon like this, right? A couple of things can happen. You can increase your confidence. I think
confidence is key in everything you do.
Absolutely. And
isn't that called a self-fulfilling prophecy?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. But also it's like, if you say to yourself, look, the conditions are perfect, right? Say you have your own, this is when I think that, in my experience, or my grandfather told me X, Y, or Z, right? It doesn't matter if your grandfather's full of shit or not. What you're going to do is you're going to be as quiet as you can going out into the woods. You're going to be slow. You're going to get into the trees slowly because you don't want to waste the opportunity, right? Because you're like, everything's perfect. So now you're acting more disciplined, and you're getting to a better, or you're picking a better spot that you've been
so
saving.
many variables,
right? So you're by virtue of believing that it's a good sit, you're increasing your chances.
You're improving the
you're
odds.
acting like somebody who doesn't want to waste an opportunity,
Right.
Which is how you should be hunting every time you're in
That's
the
like
woods.
when you go on a date with a girl you think is hot or something, right? Like, well, I'm going to definitely shower. I'm going to put on some cologne. I'm probably going to do my hair. I'm going to brush my teeth, maybe my tongue, right?
Wow.
Like, you're going to pull out
She
all the
must be hot.
stops. You're going to clean your freaking car. But if it's something you're like, meh, my friend sent me some blind date, I don't know shit, you're going to show up and none of that stuff will matter. But by the way, either could work out for you.
Either can do well.
Right, because maybe you're being your damn self and that should work for you. That should work.
Yeah, or you're uninterested and she loves that even more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so this is great. Look at this. This is a great analogy.
But it's that way. But what we're trying to do with Spartan Forge is actually get past.
This is not a dating app. Swipe left for the buck.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. That could be a fun feature. April Fool's Day for you.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a funny analogy for Tinder, but nothing came to me. Timber.
Oh,
Yeah,
there you go.
timber.
There it is.
There you go. Does
There
a
you
tree
go.
make a sound when it falls on wood? Depends if there's a buck there.
Right, exactly. So, what was I saying?
I fucked that all up.
Yeah, you did. You derailed the train once again.
That's our, oh, you did it the first
I
time.
know.
You did it on purpose. I didn't.
This is
do it
going to
on
be a
purpose.
shit show, people.
It is. Someone in the comments can get us back on track.
But-
Brownie points if you do.
What was I don't remember what I was talking about there. Oh yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
We're
Thank
talking
you.
about, and that's how we got to the dating thing. So, what we're trying to
And
do.
moon phase was the original question.
Yes.
Okay.
And so moon phase, there's a couple of things. There are places where the data seems to suggest that deer are moving more during your classical, what people would say, oh, the moon is, overhead or underfoot or whatever.
Mhm.
It seems like there's more movement in the areas, but they're not leaving the areas. So you use the neural network to define 3 areas. So let's just use one so I can explain this. Core area, which means, for the average mature buck in, I don't remember what it is in this area, but in mountain country, it's about a square mile
Really?
where they can find themselves during daylight hours.
Okay.
It's usually,
Day walkers.
day walking. And that's where they feel safest for a variety of reasons. Inside that core area, they might, in an afternoon, change their beds. A particular buck might change his bed 7 times in an afternoon. It's like 1 to sundown, 1 p.m. to sundown. It seems like now we have enough data that it seems to be pointing towards they will change beds more during full moon, during that moon overhead, moon underfoot types of situations. But it's not a bunch. It's just a little bit more.
Okay.
So there seems to be some data that says there's more happening in the bedding areas, but it's not like they're running out into the middle of like a field if you're sitting on a field's edge or like an inside
And some
corner.
of them bed in the fields.
It depends on the pressure situation, or if there's high corn or something. Absolutely, they will. What I mean is they're in their safety areas. Safety area could be the middle of the field.
Yep.
Especially if they're getting no pressure. I guess what I'm saying is they will change beds more, it seems like. And if you were to follow the deer with a ruler and say, this buck changed beds 7 times a day and he traveled 650 feet when he went around the map, right? It seems like moon overhead, moon underfoot, it might be 1,100 feet of movement, but they're not leaving the core area earlier.
Okay, I got
But
you.
it's also not everywhere. It's only in places like the Southeast is one of those places where pretty reliably the moon seems to be getting some kind of vote.
Okay.
Am I hearing something?
Yeah, he's doing some Instagramming over there.
Oh yeah,
he's doing some stuff for the
thought we
gram.
were catching the neighbors or something.
Yeah, catching the neighbors.
That'd be weird. I wouldn't want to know. They're all old. We're in like our own special corner of the freaking whole subdivision here. Literally everyone's old as shit. Not to be mean.
Sorry for the distraction, folks.
No, that's okay. So
Allows us to improvise.
first of all, my core area could use some work because I've been getting pretty flabby here. But core area and what do you call it?
Transition.
In transition, is there
So
another
that's-
term here?
Yeah, full range.
Full range.
So
there's
I'll
3.
define these.
Thank you.
Yeah, so core areas where the deer are spending most of their time during daylight hours. Transition is the areas that are between their core area and whatever their destination feeding areas are. Or if it's like, pre-rut act or rut activity, wherever they're trying to get to. So someone might traditionally call that like a staging area.
Yes, I've heard
Or
this
a
term.
scrape
Actually,
line.
when we hunted with Anthony Heller with Deer Vein, we hunted what was called a staging area. That's the
Right.
first time I ever heard of that term.
So that's
I
just the
don't know
deer.
how you identify that.
Where do you think you were when you missed that buck?
Was that a staging area? He was just passing through.
Mm-hmm.
You can think of a staging area as like a parking lot of it, like a Denny's.
I get the term,
It
I
was
guess,
a parking
but I don't know
lot,
how the
'cause
hell
that's
you
where all
know.
the deer walk through. This is where all the parking lots where the cars go.
Or a scrape line is.
But how the
another-
hell do you identify one
See?
when your boots on the ground? Like, what does that look like?
You got to open.
How do I
your
know that I'm
eyes.
looking at a staging
Open your
area?
eyes and use your head.
Well, you can think about like traditional. Let's just talk about a really traditional agricultural situation.
Okay.
Yes.
Which might be the best way to do this for
Which
most
is-
people.
Which is the area we were in.
Right. So what will happen is you'll have, let's just say you have an area where there's like 3 fingers, topographic fingers that deer are bedding on, right? And then you have a field.
Mhm.
Okay. And then what you have is an area that's generally downwind of that field that gives you good vision of the field. You can see the field. So what the deer will do is they'll leave the bedding area. They'll go to this area where they can scent check the field, feed a little bit, and observe where they're about to walk
Can
into.
we call this a tailgating area?
Yeah, we could do that.
Sure.
Like they're getting together.
Yeah, I'm not driving.
I'm meeting up with the
Yeah.
guys pre-game, maybe
Whatever you want to call it.
pre-gaming.
pre-gaming.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it would be a staging area.
Okay.
Or as they're leaving that area, right, they might have like a scrape line that they like to work or a rub line
Sure.
that they like to
Okay,
work.
so that's what I was
between.
witnessing in the buck that I missed. He was working the scrape line.
See?
Those would be transition.
Got it.
And then another
Transition.
way to look at and then usually what they follow, which gets even more confusing, is they will another term that gets used colloquially is where like hardwoods meets
It's like vegetative transitions.
vegetative transition is generally a good line that they'll use to get from point A to point B.
Wonder why that is.
I think because they're
Just
just
per cover for
transition.
one.
They're edge creatures.
They're edge creatures.
They love it.
I think of it as like, and this is not scientific and this is not official. I just think of it as an easy way for them to recognize where they're going.
Oh yeah, that's,
Like-
I've never heard it said that way before.
It's path of least resistance.
Creatures of the
sometimes.
edge, right? There's probably some brand out there that should be
But they
spun
just
up around that. But
recognize that path because it's where, overgrowth or a cleared timber area
Sure.
meets hardwoods.
They have security there.
Yeah.
Security is one step away.
yeah. If
I
something
always
So
thought
they
about like they don't
basically
want to be silhouetted.
Yeah.
So if they're using like hardwoods as a backdrop for themselves, they're not going to be as identified as
There's
easily.
there's
by
probably a number of different reasons
But
why.
that's a good one too. Like just simply could deer take the path of least resistance, right? We've heard
Yep.
this before. They're not too dissimilar from humans. It's often that you'll see deer tracks by your fucking truck.
well, they want to
after the
save
fact.
energy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then additionally, they want to blend in. They don't want to get silhouetted, but maybe they just need to know how they're going, and
Right.
it's easier
And
for
that's
them to
another,
recognize.
that's another easy way to do it. It's kind of like us following a river, right?
Sure.
It's visually, we can understand this river goes here.
Yep.
And so it's the same for them. So, and then also they're just, as Greg said, animals or creatures of transition.
Transition. Edge. They love edge.
Edge.
They're on
Adam
the edge
Miller,
of glory all the
Adam
time.
Miller says hi. Hi, Adam.
How you doing,
Adam.
We like Adam.
Adam just texted me this morning.
Alex is a user of your app. He's the one that asked one of the questions. He said he had great success with the app last year and saw 2 deer every sit.
Wow. Good.
But 2 of his sits.
Alex is a
And
good guy.
on those sits, Alex Blue. On those sits, I had second guessed on the walkout and didn't sit where I was originally planned. So it's great for me in Kansas. So
Excellent.
It sounds like that's a big thing.
Thanks, Alex.
I'm missing any. By the way, guys, you can call in. The number's on the screen here. For those that don't know, it's 262-757-4122. If you have a question, you can call in.
We're
I'm not-
shy.
I'm not sharing the live chat link because we're all here in studio, so it would take my focus away from the current conversation. So if you call in, that'd probably be best. Again, you
I'd
can
love
just
to
use
talk
your
to
phone. Yeah, if you have questions for Bill and the app and anything, I mean, this data-driven approach is interesting because this industry hasn't seen this yet.
Nope.
And it's been very subjective, which isn't bad because subjectivity from people that are getting it done, they're sharing data that they've personally experienced. But that's like saying I only drive a Ford because Fords have been great to me. I never had a problem. Well, that you've never driven a Chevy or a Toyota or a Dodge or a whatever, those could be good too, but you don't know that.
Yeah, like your F-150 might be doing good for you in Kansas, but like how's it going to do for you in New York City?
Right. So I want to know, like, this data-driven approach is how I've been describing your application when we've been running the ads. Like, this is a data-driven approach to deer predictability. And I'm not doing any justice because we're getting pretty deep on this episode to really kind of scratch below the surface here.
We don't use any presuppositions. There's nothing we come to the table and say, deer, do this. Mm-hmm. Only the data that the deer are aggregating by wearing the collar, is what the machine is going to say is a pattern of the deer. And which is the only way to do it.
And you've shared some really cool information. I don't know how much of this is you're willing to let see the light of day. Some of the myth busting kind of things I think are really fascinating personally. I think that can do well with any audience. Because we've come to believe certain things because grandpa said so, or so on and so forth, generational data that's been passed down.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to poo-poo grandpa. Grandpa might be right in your area. Right?
Yeah, he could be totally right. That's the other thing about this. You could validate a lot of things too.
Yeah, I'm talking about general deer. Just like, and a good way to think about that is general humans. Like the general human might do X, Y, or Z, but then you got to think about, okay, now what's the other 40% of the human race doing?
And by the way, if we're talking general deer, are there assumptions that you can then make from the big deer?
Yes, we're building a mature deer model.
Oh my God.
And I just made this.
You have to make people pay a lot of money for that one.
No, I won't.
You
know why I won't do that? Because it's dismal to look at.
All right.
It's not super exciting. It's like,
because it's like
three
data points.
Big deer get more sedentary.
Here it is. Big deer don't move.
They move, but it's a very few handfuls of days of the year.
Just spots that they've never been seen in.
I think you've said that some of them might not even participate in some rut activity.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're just like, fuck that. I'm not moving from this bed.
Yep.
If they got does and food and water there, why would they?
Right.
I've seen data where, I should say, first of all, not every doe in that area was collared, right? But a majority of them were. So I can tell when a buck and a doe are kind of meeting and they'll spend 24 to 72 hours mating in thick cover somewhere. Mm-hmm. I've seen where these bucks just will stay in their area during their first primary breeding, like bell curve, like the first jump in primary breeding. They'll just be remaining where they're at. And that deer will, get 7, 8, 9 years old. And then the second rut, right, they'll participate and they'll breed some fawns, which is crazy.
Sick bastards.
And they will maybe mate a couple does, but then that's it. And then they're done. And then they're never coming out of their little area again.
I just watched The Hunting Public, and they did a episode on, I don't know if it's recent or not, but it was like how to identify buck bedding on public land.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good. I liked the way that they took the approach. They broke everything down, etc. A question I have for you is, so last year when we did our Tactic Talk series, we tried to follow the hunting season by talking to people about what was happening now through that series. And I tripped into this series, or not, I didn't trip. Through that series, I tripped into this whole concept of early season, where you're getting on these deer before they're, pressured, while they're still on a pattern. And so you talked about core area and this extended full range area. I think that's really interesting when you consider early season. If you can get those ebbs and flows of core versus extended, that can further inform a pattern of predictability.
Yeah, that's
for
also
you to get in there early season.
Yeah, it's also their most patternable time of the year. Like you'll see them just like clockwork hitting spots because there's no pressure.
Yep.
Like they have.
So then, if you're right, we almost call that first hunter advantage, or in business they call it first mover advantage, right?
Yeah, I was on a podcast the other day. I don't remember. Maybe it was just the last one. I don't remember.
The Southern Outdoorsman one.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. They asked
Antler
me,
up.
Maybe
You've been on a lot.
They asked me if I had to kill a big deer, if I wanted to kill a big deer, when would I do it? And a couple of things after looking at the GPS data, but then also spending a lot of time around guys like Johnny Stewart or Steve Shirk, and then re-examining every time I interact with one of my pro staffers, I try to understand like what makes them tick, or like what their,
first of all, obsession.
Yes, obsession makes them tick. Absolutely, because they're spending more time. Like their scouting is just, maybe Greg is like this. I certainly was maybe 50% of this, even at like my peak a couple of years ago. If they have free time, they're scouting. Like summer long.
He's tinkering or scouting.
Yep. And so that to me is a huge part of that. But then the other thing is like a guy like Johnny Stewart, they're doing a lot of traditionally I always used to focus on right before the peak of the rut, and then obviously the peak of the rut, and then that would kind of be at least for about 5 or 6 years. That'd be the majority of when I'm spending time in the woods.
End of October, early November.
Yep.
Okay.
Like October.
This is how it is here.
Yeah, October 28th into November 20th. Like in there, I'm hunting whenever I can.
Okay.
Then you have a guy like Johnny Stewart who he'll hunt that time, but he's not bending over backwards to do it. But then he is bending over backwards. Like I can't tell you how many times this year he's driving to Ohio, like January 28th.
I'm going to say something. I really like hunting that time of year.
Yeah.
That later.
There's no one in the woods.
There's no one there. And
yeah.
Like I had one guy walk in on me like the last week of season because he was clearly hard up for a deer, and might have been the guy that missed the doe back there. Who knows? But I was the only person. There was no small game hunters. There was nothing. I could hear snowmobiles way off in the distance.
But at that point of the deer,
but then you look at Johnny's
who actually
success.
knows? But are they? If the deer like finally like,
they might be getting back into patternable.
Sure,
they are. They are. I mean, because they were moving through, and they even walked right through my boot prints and didn't even care.
Interesting.
So what I take from that is, if you said to me, I'm repeating myself, and I hate doing this on podcasts.
Right. Damn it!
If you
asked the wrong
me,
question, then
no, it's fine.
Kidding.
If you ask me, hey Bill, there's in this block of woods, there's a 170-inch deer, and you've got 7 days to hunt it. I would say 3.5 days on the opener and 3.5 days towards the closer.
Yep,
would be my time. And if I had to say when is it going to get harvested,
well, that rate I would pick the closer because I don't want to fuck with the mosquitoes.
See, I'd pick the opener.
If
I had cameras all over the woods.
I would agree. The first week of opening.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing. I just can't tolerate the bugs.
And I've got trail camera data to prove it. Okay. Mm-hmm. The first, we'll say 2 weeks of season, deer are moving normally. They're even moving during somewhat shootable hours. They're moving during shootable hours.
I mean, I've seen, 140, 150 inch bucks in like the southeast, which is, that's pretty big down there. That's like 160, 170 inch deer up here. And they're on the hoof at 3 p.m. leaving their core areas.
No problems. They don't care about it.
Yeah.
Because nobody's been back there.
And
nobody's
the mosquitoes are horrible. Nobody wants to be in the woods.
But it's another day in the life of a whitetail. Deer flies and mosquitoes.
Right.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Eric?
Well, I was going to ask which states, is it Kansas and Nebraska? Which ones are the ones that are known for early season where you can get velvet?
North Dakota is definitely
North
one.
Dakota.
Yep.
I've killed a lot of velvet deer in North Dakota.
Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. The doe that you got last year, you got on the opener.
Yeah.
Man, that was a hot time.
You know what? Didn't care. I wanted to be there.
Mm-hmm. The city.
That's right.
Hot time in the swamp, more like it.
Yeah, buddy.
You're lucky she didn't friggin' take a left turn to Albuquerque on that one.
No doubt.
You already had a total shit show plan B shot with your heavy ass FOC Vector Custom Shop.
Should I just be pouring more whiskey, or can I get one of those beers?
You can get a beer.
What do you want?
Yeah,
What do you want?
I had a Sam Adams, but whatever's in there.
Are you a Pabst guy?
Is there a new Glarus in there?
If anything, I'm more of a Busch Light guy, but
there might be a new Glarus Totally Naked in there, which is like
if they're cold. They
Eric
weren't cold earlier. Are they cold?
Eric likes to be totally naked.
Well, the Totally Naked new Glarus is like a Hefeweizen.
I like Hefeweizen.
Hefeweizen.
It's like
very nice.
It's like a Hefeweizen.
Yeah, it's the Hefeweizen. I really like it. Yeah, it's very good.
But I'll just keep pouring this because I'm too lazy to get up and I get it.
When you like to lick and the dickin'.
I have a lot of firsts today. This is my first live podcast. I think
live because you've been live with us before, but you haven't been live in studio.
Live in studio, and then second, it's my first one doing it with a Buzz. So
Buzz Lightyear is not here. I can go get him. He's downstairs.
So,
we got like 10 fucking Buzz Lightyears in this house. Kids are obsessed with Toy Story.
So people are probably gonna unsubscribe today after they.
That's fine.
It's all right.
They get what they get when they see us. We're just okay at what we do.
Hey, the okayest,
live with it.
The okayest hunters.
You don't like it? Well,
that's what fine. I didn't fucking say. This is the okayest hunter podcast studio.
I forgot to roll an ad.
That's how okay we are. We just straight up forget to mention it.
That's like your biggest sponsor.
Oh yeah, well it's like
I mean, you're wearing their shirt.
That's
you
right.
got their
and the
hat,
hat,
on.
the whole thing. I
like that
I got
shirt,
a new
by the way.
hat, the venison one.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
like that.
you know where this idea came from for this shirt? I was driving. I saw a guy walking down the road, and its shirt didn't say venison, but it was one of these college shirts, and
Like the
I was
John
like-
Belushi or Jim Belushi.
it was just no. Like, literally, I was
College.
driving home, and
Yeah,
some dude was walking down the
college.
subdivision, and it looked like whatever he was wearing. It was a college shirt, but it must have been some sort of college shirt with I don't know, whatever. Doesn't matter. But I was like, how cool would it be if I had like a fucking shirt that just said venison
Yeah.
in the college lettering?
And no joke, I got a text message like 2 seconds after he saw the guy. What do you think? Venison. I'm like, do it.
So that was it.
I like those shirts. I have a couple of those. I have one that says "Fuck art, let's dance,"
There you go.
There you go.
and then I've got another one that says "USA back-to-back World War I and II champions."
Yeah, that's
Ooh.
pretty good.
Ooh.
Yeah, but sometimes it's the simple stuff, you know.
It's just like
Yeah.
block.
Like so,
It looks like somebody
Yeah.
screen printed it
Yes.
in 5th grade art class.
That's
yeah, but
it.
if you read it, it's like, oh,
Yeah, it's pretty good.
that guy's pretty serious.
And
we
were
spent a
the
lot of money
back-to-back
on-
World War champs.
we spent a lot of money on designs from and they did great. Not to poo-poo it at all. I think it's fantastic, but more people buy the shirts that just have letters on them and words rather than these big pictures and things like that.
Yeah, I was just I had a meeting with like our marketing. Yes.
Yeah.
How did he know to say that?
I don't know. He's like your brother or something.
I know. That's really weird. Or did I tell the story earlier?
Hey!
Weird. I had a meeting this morning at Starbucks with our marketing guys, and we were going over like t-shirt designs.
Yeah.
And they showed me this website for this sunglasses company.
Which
Oh.
one?
I'm gonna.
You know-
Shady Rays.
Movement?
Is it the same
MMT?
guy that does the Dr. Squatch stuff?
No, but
Oh.
maybe Jordan, if you're listening,
the,
text me
the
name
most
of it.
on-brand site that I remember seeing back when I was doing this shit for real, like in marketing, was Chubby's Shorts.
They're still all over Instagram.
They're so good at speaking to their demographic. No one is better. Shitty Cooler, pretty good.
yeah.
Chubby Shorts,
Shitty Cooler
pretty
does
damn
a
good.
nice job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that wasn't the one, but it was.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, it's like
but,
if you want to
know,
market to a frat boy, Chubby Shorts.
It was. But
or Shitty Cooler,
do you guys
Exactly.
did you guys watch wrestling back in the day?
Some.
So there
depending on
was
what
this-
era.
Like 80s, late 80s.
Yeah, like
A
Slim
little
Jim,
bit.
the Slim Jim dude, and all that.
Aren't you like
jazz.
50, Greg?
Come
You-
on.
Yeah, weren't you calling him a
Come
youngin',
on.
Greg?
Yeah, you're calling me.
Listen
young.
here,
You're all
we're
younger
snapper.
than
I'm
me.
2 years
There-
older than you.
shut up.
See?
There was this wrestler called. Sorry, there was this wrestler called the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He had, like,
Warrior.
I don't know what the
Yeah.
fuck that is.
He had,
Yeah.
like, neon tassels.
Yeah, he had
No,
like
that was Randy
feathers and
Savage, man.
everything.
Randy the Savage.
Well, they wrestled
Dude,
at the same
come on.
time.
Yeah, the things.
You're
with
not
the
even
tassels.
Macho
You're gonna
Man
have to
Randy
talk to
Yes,
Savage.
yeah,
Steve.
thank you.
Stevie Mo, you're gonna have to help Eric out with his wrestlers.
Stevie's way too obsessed with wrestling. That's not fair.
Boy, I know.
Well, anyway,
Anyways.
Anyway, keep on
that
laughing.
aesthetic of the Ultimate Warrior was this website, and it was a sunglasses website where when
Do you have
went to
tassels on your sunglasses?
when you went to the website, it looked like Windows 3.1.
Oh God.
Like the whole website was laid out like with the blue
Windows 95?
top and the before that, like 3.1.
Oh, DOS.
3.1.
No, like 3.1.
I remember
it's
3.1.
After
3.1.
DOS, before 5.
Yeah, before like XP.
I remember
and all
doing
that stuff.
command prompts to do flight simulators. I remember that. That was pre-DOS. Well, that was DOS. Pre-Windows.
I don't
But
know.
anyway,
Some
the
nerd shit.
website looked like you were on a Windows 3.1.
So you got in your
machine.
DeLorean, you went to the website,
Yeah,
you were back
and-
in time.
And they were selling these wraparound sunglasses.
oh my God.
Oh yeah.
And it
I
was
see now.
so awesome.
So what
I
does
was
that
like-
have to do with the price of tea in China?
Aesthetics.
Okay.
And so we were discussing t-shirts and what we wanted to do with like Spartan Forge t-shirts
Got it.
and how we wanted the website when people are ordering, what we wanted it to look like. And I was like, had that not been done, that's exactly what I would want out of my website, is it to look like you are going back in a DeLorean.
Did you see the new event from Latitude Outdoors? The 1970s magazine
Yes,
cover?
I did. Yes, I did.
Event poster.
Very good.
Fucking awesome and brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'm not gonna let the cat out of the bag completely, but let's just say some inspiration for some upcoming things that was pulled from that.
yes.
You just let the cat out of the bag.
No one knows what the hell I'm talking about. Like 3 people know what I'm talking
Yeah, I
about.
know. 2 of them are in this room.
jackass. You jackass. You're not going to make the putt because you're a jackass.
You suck, jackass.
Are we ignoring questions right now? I feel
No,
like
I don't have any new ones.
Really
Like
Come on,
people must just
Taylor.
be watching this unfold.
You just messaged Taylor.
I have no
Come on.
calls in
No, I
queue,
messaged Jordan.
and I have no new questions. So if someone wants to call, the number's on the screen. I said, literally on the screen, it says, have a question for Bill, question mark? Call into the show, exclamation point. Here's the phone
Everybody
number.
gets stage fright.
I don't know what that's all about. Like,
When
this
it's time
isn't-
to kill
people
deer,
used to call into
then
radio
we'll get
shows
people.
all the time.
Maybe it's one of those things that's just kind of.
I'll note this. I will let a small cat out of one bag, which is next week, August 3rd, when you call into the show, you're going to enter to win a chance to win. What the fuck is going on?
Enter at a chance.
You'll be
to
entered
win.
into a chance to win
Yeah.
a Latitude Method 2 saddle.
Holy sheep shit.
But you have to call. That's how this is going to work.
That's right, people. You need to call.
That doesn't count today. So don't count your lucky
Not
stars
tomorrow.
yet. But next week when
Next
you call in,
Tuesday.
and some OKS Hunter swag, stickers, decals, and shirts, and a Method 2 saddle.
I feel like we should be holding out on that.
It's going to get announced between today
Just
and
a
next
little
week,
bit.
so I'm okay.
I like
Okay.
Alex. Alex is the man.
Alex Chop. You know what? You guys talk for 2 seconds. I'm just gonna.
You gonna use the little girl's room?
No, I'm just gonna.
He's gonna put on the saddle.
He's gonna put on.
He's gonna hang from his chair.
He is gonna hang from his chair.
Oh, very nice. Can they see that?
You were supposed
I
to
have one
put
in
that
the
on.
box.
That's the giveaway.
Oh,
Give
yeah,
him
that's
that
also
one.
the-
Right
this is-
meow.
Yeah, you can touch it.
You can touch it only when it's not on my skin.
I will probably never use a saddle. I'm gonna be honest.
I said that too. I'm gonna give it a try this year.
That's all I got this year.
I
told him I couldn't.
That's an
borrow
XL,
my
which
stand.
might be too big for me, but it's okay because
No, it's not. You're girthy in the right places.
Are there any calls in queue yet, guys? No,
Nothing.
No?
I just made you uncomfortable. Your
We
turn.
do. Oh, they hung up. I missed one. Who was
Girthy
it?
in all the right places is the band I used to
22
listen to.
seconds ago, guys. Who was on here 22 seconds ago? That
Asshat,
terminated?
you weren't paying attention.
Call
You were
back.
22 seconds.
playing with your death diaper over there.
Deer diaper.
Deer diaper,
Same thing.
death diaper. Those are both pretty good.
So
Yeah.
this is really good quality, by the way. What is this? This is Latitude.
Latitude Outdoors.
I like Alex.
Alex is
Um,
good shit.
He is helping out with the veterans hunt,
Okay,
which we'll talk about later, I'm sure.
Mhm.
we're supposed to talk about
I
that.
will say,
That's part of what we're supposed to talk about
and I
today.
shouldn't say this.
Then
I
don't.
shouldn't say this.
Then don't.
No, I'm
You can-
going to.
It's live.
Okay.
Why? Because
There it is. You heard it first.
I
It's
don't-
right here.
I don't do well with this type of stuff. This might be why the downfall of my company, but it doesn't matter.
Surprises. Here.
I reached out to a couple of stand companies. So we have this veterans hunt coming up where people are going to register. They're going to get a bunch of prize stuff. So we've got like awesome companies. They're going to be donating stuff like First Light, Vortex, HHA,
Mhm.
all kinds of great companies, right?
These are big name companies. They're awesome. We love you.
but they're
Thank you.
they're supporting veterans. Most
By the way,
importantly.
Michael
that's the
Pike,
most important
hang in
part.
there. We're going to bring you on in just a second.
Let me finish this, Michael Pike. So most importantly,
Can I go on a shirt?
let me finish this, Michael Pike. So most importantly, I reached out to, and I won't say their names, some large stand companies and told them, hey, I'll buy some stands for cost.
Yeah.
It's like what it costed you to make the stand, because I understand there are people who are not like myself. I will never probably hunt from a deer diaper.
Mhm.
Right.
Because I don't trust myself mostly.
Mhm.
It's a
I'll
practice.
always use a stand. And so I reached out to these guys and I was like, hey, let me buy some for cost. We'll, donate some money in your name. Just want to
Put your name all over in banners. do
Yeah,
that
whoever's
cool
not
shit.
going to use a deer diaper, we will put in a stand and then we'll advertise that stand during the
Logical.
Got it. Makes
during this-
sense.
just
It's good marketing. Nothing.
Kaiser Sose.
That's okay.
Come
There's a
on.
lot of I don't want to say volatility is probably too strong of a word, but like,
It's just like an easy thing
It's
to
a-
get behind.
well, you'd think
It is.
it is
From our perspective.
but there's a lot of
Or everyone's.
like
Right.
there's a lot of
Anybody
brand
who
loyalty
loves veterans.
and visceral feelings towards some of the stand companies that exist out there.
We know. We know this.
But what does that have to do with like
I don't know.
say you win and you're not a deer diaper wearer?
They're
Which, by the way, this thing's really high quality. And
so
I'm not
it's-
even saying that
the
because I have
recent
nothing
video
to
that
do
they
with
just posted, he like
Latitude.
sticks it to a truck because there's a magnet, right? So he puts it on like
It's
the
two panel.
I've also seen the tethered ones and they're really good too. I'm not.
This
trying
has
to
no metal.
kill.
This is a silent
I'm
silent
just being
system.
honest. They
Our
both
friends
seem,
at Latitude know what they're up against, and they make a good
Yeah.
product.
I mean, the tethered ones are really good too, but I'm not sponsored by either. I don't deal with either.
Right.
It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, for people who aren't going to use these saddles, I was going to put them
You
on
want
a
to get
stand.
your, yep, I get you.
And now I don't even want to use those stands during the hunt because
What do you use for a stand?
I'm not going to say it.
All right.
I don't like
Let's
it
bring our
I
caller
know
on.
what it
let's,
is.
Let's bring our caller on.
because they didn't. They
They didn't respond. Got it.
Yeah, I
I'm with
want to
you.
pay you for your product.
Yep.
Then I'll advertise it.
It's all about
Sorry,
the
I don't know,
Benjamins,
man.
but apparently not. Hey, Michael Pike, you're live on the show. What's up?
What's up, guys?
Hey, Mike.
Mike
So,
wants to shoot the
I
shit.
don't know what we missed out on already because
Everything.
we've been trying to set up some camera equipment. But do we get to ask you anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, within reason.
I mean,
like,
within reason. I mean, if we have to report
Keep
your
it
phone
PG.
number to,
we're drinking bourbon.
Pedophiles Anonymous or something, then it might be a problem. But
Yeah, whatever you want,
can,
Michael.
you can ask what you want.
I mean, I'll answer whatever. I don't care.
Bill, how was Katy Perry? Can you tell
Oh,
us?
jeez. So, come on. We know Bill has not talked to Katy Perry.
No,
He's not have a collar on her
you didn't
yet.
listen to the Southern Outdoorsman podcast.
No.
So
I didn't listen to all
Just
of it.
wait. Just wait.
So my girlfriend will routinely, in fact, just a little bit ago, she just texted me just minutes ago.
Is she watching the shit show?
No, she is not.
No, but she
Um,
was dressed like Katy Perry. So
No. She wasn't dressed like Katy Perry. She will say shit to me when I'm reviewing deer data, just to see if I'm listening.
Oh, that's the best.
Oh yeah.
And she'll be like, "So, like next weekend, we're gonna do this with these people, and hey, they're coming over. They want to swim in the pool with us, and I thought we'd invite over Katy Perry and have a threesome." And then I'll just be like, yeah, that all sounds great. And she'll be like,
well, of course
"Oh,
you would say that to that.
no, I didn't hear a word she said." So she'll be like, "You're looking at deer data, aren't you?"
Oh, that's
And I'll,
great.
yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. So, Michael Pike, you hit the nail on the head.
Did you listen to Southern Outdoorsman,
All right.
Mike?
You must
What's
have.
that?
That's the only place I've said that.
Yeah, that's great.
He was asking if you listened to the.
But by the way,
podcast.
Bud Fisher with Catching Deers, his brother's a famous hockey player who's married to Carrie Underwood. So, like,
God bless his cotton socks.
right? There we go.
Good for him.
Yeah. What's funny is I didn't realize that until a couple of weeks ago when I watched the Exodus trail camera video on YouTube.
Which one?
I had no clue that too. They did I think they did like a special with him, or at least they did one about him, and they had Carrie Underwood on there and everything.
The Whitetail
And
Cribs?
so I did not know.
No, it wasn't
I did not
Cribs.
know that was his wife.
It wasn't Cribs. It was like they're doing other. You need to go watch some of their stuff.
I've
whenever
been
you have
watching their
time.
shit. I've been watching everybody's shit.
I don't think you've been watching.
I
their
might be
stuff
a week or
close
two
enough.
behind.
You're like 3 weeks behind.
Okay.
Get after it.
Yeah. So I was watching. I was like, I came in the house after letting the dog out. I sat down in my other living room because we have like two. I don't know.
They
what they're
just
called.
had our stupid asses on a
I
video.
know that. I saw that. But I sat down and I like started watching deer videos, and I was like, peace be with you, and peace be, and also with you. I was like by myself. I was farting. It stunk in there. It wasn't pleasant for
It
anybody.
happens twice a
So
year.
my wife, it was like, it must have been like 20 minutes of me watching videos on YouTube on the TV. And she's like, "What the fuck are you doing in here?" I'm like, What? I've been here for 20 minutes. You just now
smells
realize
like
that
shit,
clearly
and you're watching
it shouldn't
deer hunting.
matter because you didn't even know.
Put your
that it was
shirt
gonna be
on
20
there.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
put
like,
your
you don't want
shirt
to come in
on.
here. It stinks. I'm trying to stay away from people on purpose. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. If I'm being
You
here, staying up the
crop
room,
dusted the entire
Yeah.
area just to keep people
she's
away.
mad at me. So I tried
Michael
to catch up.
Michael Pike, what can we do for you?
Yeah, man.
We're ignoring you.
All right.
Let's put you back on the track.
Let's
We're
see here.
drunk.
You are. God, this is really nice.
I got a ton of questions on here.
Yeah, what you got?
Okay, the timing of the movement currently on your app, or what is eventually going to be your app,
We'll call it
is
the
like
web app
kind of
for
on like a daily time frame. Is this eventually going to evolve into like a more precise prediction,
Great question.
like hourly or like every few hours or something?
No, that's a great question. So there are a couple of things I can say about that. First of all, so Andy made messages in earlier and asked about what spurs deer movement. And hold on a second, because I got a belch. So what spurs deer movement? That second part that I talked about was how often they have favorable feeding days. So what we see in the data, and there are good studies. I believe it's from Mississippi, Auburn, and South Carolina. Have all done studies on this, I believe, but I could be wrong. I'll send Eric the link after this. Deer don't move hourly. In other words, if they have a
I've heard this before.
Yeah, if they have a biological need to feed, or need to speed, need for speed
for weed.
Yeah, weed. What?
Anyway,
Jeez. If they have a biological need to feed, it doesn't get satisfied in an hour. In other words, if you were to measure
with the digestion,
their movement, they want to be moving a lot for a long time, and there are no systems that. Here's what I can say: having about, we're getting near 1,000 years of deer data, and what we see in the deer data is when they're moving a lot for long periods of time, like 1 or 2 weeks. In other words, their body is telling them, "Hey, you do not have enough, fat for February. You need to start feeding now," and that doesn't get satisfied in like an hour. So I guess the first point to that is what seems to be like a reasonable level of analysis right now is daily. In other words, today deer will be moving, in or outside of their core areas, or in their transition areas, or in their full range areas. And when I'm looking at all of the GPS data, I'm not getting a finer point. I'm not getting better analysis or results from the analysis than that. But the second thing there is I can switch what the 24-hour period is. So one of the things I'm thinking about doing is making it so it's like noon to noon, so that we have a morning prediction and an afternoon prediction. But I have to see what the data bears out. In other words, if the prediction doesn't work well, when I break it down to that level, I'm not going to use it. And that's to say, again, probably something I shouldn't say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Hourly deer movement is not a thing that's predictable, because the deer are not responding to things that are happening hour by hour unless they're getting pressured or pushed out of an area by a foreign person or a species or a predator. Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They have a biological imperative to feed for long periods of time. So they're and this is why this is a great question, is because when a deer is getting, what it takes for them from a feeding standpoint to gather the fat that they need to see themselves either through tough periods of the winter, or, in the South, it's to basically provide them with the energy they need to get through the rut. That doesn't happen hour by hour. They're not getting like a biological imperative that
I would
says,
say that's macro versus micro, right?
Yeah, you've fed enough for this hour. Like, that doesn't happen. Think about yourself as a person, right? Like, it's not like, okay, I've worked out enough now, I'm good for the next week, or like I'm good hour by hour. It's like, no, you have to be generalized over a long period of time to get either the calories that you need, or
I'm good till I smell those French fries.
Right, exactly.
I walk past that bean field, damn it.
So the point there is the GPS data, and it's getting to the point where I think we can say this empirically. Why? Because I've got at least 2 or 3 universities that agree with me, and looking at all of the data, if deer moving a lot, it's happening and again, this is busting presuppositions that people have to this point. It's like 3, 5, 7 days of lots of movement. It's not like 10 a.m. on Tuesday they're going to be moving a lot. Like, first off, like all of the deer in an area just rising at 10 a.m. and then moving. Like, I know this, I'm not trying to.
That's a good picture to paint, though. Like, but picture that for a second in your mind.
That is an impossible situation for a deer company to say, hey, look, 80% of your deer are going to stand up at 10 a.m.
It's like Sex
between
Panther
10 and 10:30, and they're going to feed from 11 to 11:45.
There's so many variables involved.
There's way too much happening.
Came through.
Yes.
The wind switched, and I caught the wind off of a hiking trail.
But
maybe I need to move.
But what we can say is they'll be moving more than they normally would, and that's going to be happening for days and days. So, Michael Pike, I hope that answers the question on that.
Great question.
Yeah. So,
good.
Mike. Where are you out of? What state are you hunting out of?
Alabama.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
In Alabama, we've, for your purposes, Michael Pike, we have large repositories of data from Alabama. Like, I mean, very large.
You're going to get a great user
experience. And some of the best prediction that we do is like the triumvirate of like Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina. Like, in those areas, we get prediction that's almost ridiculous. Like, I'm second guessing how good it is. And I mean that because we have so much data from that area.
Are you working with the college there?
Yeah, we work with Auburn there.
That's fine.
And the great Steve Ditchkoff, who is just all about deer.
Right. Do you have a follow-up question there, Mike?
Yeah. So like if we drive by like a field, which we don't have a whole lot of fields that we can actually glass, but I always hear people talking about driving by like a huge field and like one day, like every single deer in the area will be out there feeding. Do you know, or can you tell us like what are some of those driving factors for that?
So yes, and so from a Spartan Forge application perspective, we would call that a full range day, right? You're like driving by a field, and it's 2 p.m., it's full of deer. That's full range. And what we mean is they've left, either they're bedding. Well, it's actually a great point. Andy May had texted me the other day and said, hey, I've been observing this field, and the outfitter is saying that it's going to be a full range day, or it's going to be a core day, and these deer out in the middle of the field, like that doesn't seem like core to me. And then my question was, did you go and watch those deer and see where they were bedding? Because what I'm guessing is they're bedding on the edge of that field, which is something they don't do throughout the rest of the year. In other words, those deer are just getting up and moving like 16, 20 yards from where they're bedding on the edge of that field. They're just watching the field the whole day. So that field has just become their core area.
So by the way, I have a question then too. So like we talk.
Well, I should answer.
Let him finish.
It's in addition to. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead and finish.
My addition to is cut cornfields and deer bedding in feeding areas.
That would become their core area.
Because you're not going to hunt a fucking cornfield.
Well, you will.
You
Some
might.
people do.
Like tall standing corn. You're not.
Yeah, I know people that will.
Lanes?
Yeah, no, I know people that will cut lanes in a cornfield and then still stock the lanes that are cut.
Oh my god!
And just wait for doe and bucks to pop out.
Fascinating. Okay.
In those areas, and that's their core. That's now become their core.
Because
area.
that is bedding until those fields are cut, and then so like that's an event, right? That's like
and now that's become core area for them.
Okay. Sorry.
So that's like that's a good point. That's an important thing for people to consider because once the pressure starts, obviously that field will no longer become core area.
Sure.
So
I just don't. Yeah.
Well, now I've totally forgotten what Michael Pike asked me. Because we
when you see all those deer out there, if they're not because like you see a majority of them, like a generalized deer movement or pattern. I just was curious what some of those driving factors were, like because there's definitely something like some days you go out in the woods and it's like every deer in the area is on their feet, and then other days like you barely see any kind of movement. So I didn't know what factors you thought contributed mostly to that.
I mean, rain has a big thing to do with that in the southern states, especially Alabama. That is predictably across all class of species when there is light rain throughout the day, or any weather associated with that. You seem to see deer moving all day long.
And Vincent Battiata asked, rain movement differs from rain movement from the northern Midwest. So he was asking about rain too. So this is a good topic. Sorry.
Yeah. So, and then in the South again, it's coupled with, if they've had an enormous amount of warm days, it seems like the first break in that is also like another great day. So if you've had like unseasonably hot weather in the South, whereas it doesn't really matter up north because the coats, the way that all works, it doesn't seem to impact it as much. But when you have your first cool days or your first cool mornings in the South, that seems to be one of those days too, where the deer start moving. But again, in the South there, if I'm a bedding man, it's always like the light rain, even like mists to light rain seem to be when the most movement that I'm seeing happening. And if it's a clear day, then I would say in the South, again, I'm speaking for, we're up here in Wisconsin, so I'm speaking specifically to people in Alabama, so don't take this to be gospel in Wisconsin or Michigan. But it would be like 3 to 5 mile an hour winds, and the weather is inside of a seasonable norm where there is good sunlight. The sun's hitting the ground, it's producing thermals. So what you have is you're getting wind situation, you're getting a moderate wind, and you're getting the sun that's generating the thermals, and the deer are feeling especially safe in an area that they're able to glass before they head out into it. So it's like a perfect combination of things coming together. And then on top of that, if there have been storms, 2 or 3 storms in the last week or 10 days, and then you get that first nice day where it's crisp and clear and it's the coolest day maybe out of those days, that's when you're really going to see the movement as far as the GPS.
What I'm hearing is
concerned.
Go subscribe to Spartan Forge app.
No, what I just heard was your voice is like a combination of Fergie and Jesus.
Oh man,
I've been called the songbird of my generation.
Mike, I hope I helped you out there.
Good question,
but
thank you.
Yeah.
Again, like, I'm telling people about these situations, but it's just that is a cross section in time, and what you really need to be considering is like the past 60 days, because if all of those situations are present, but that deer's had tons of favorable feeding days leading up to that point, is less likely to risk its life to go and feed in the middle of a field. Does that make sense?
So do you think that may be stress? I know I've heard this before by somebody, and I can't remember who it was, but maybe stressors, like the more stress that's placed on a deer, like the heavier they'll feed outside of that stress.
Yes,
so, like,
I've heard that. I've heard that.
Really bad thunderstorm come through, and then like right after that, the deer are more likely to feed.
Yeah, I've heard that. I can't say I've looked at the data with that optic, but I've heard that before, and that seems to be true by what I see. But that's definitely something I need to look
Mike,
at.
send us a DM, and we'll get you an OKS Hunter shirt of your choosing for calling in.
Yeah, and Mike, are you on Spartan Forge, Mike? Do you already have a subscription?
Yeah, I do.
Oh shoot. Well, then message me.
Did you use the Where to Hunt code?
Well, you message me on Instagram, and we've got some new T-shirts coming out. I'll send you a new T-shirt because those were good questions.
Looks like you're a first-time caller, so thanks for calling into the show and being brave.
Yeah, we see you on Facebook.
No problem, guys.
Yeah, but send me a message on Instagram, man, and I'll send you. We've got some new, pretty awesome T-shirts coming out, and I'll send you one.
But they're not.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, fellas.
But their T-shirts aren't better than the OKS Hunter T-shirts.
Probably not.
All right, thanks, Michael. Have a good night, buddy.
Thanks, bud.
Y'all have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
So we did get a call. How about that? Comments, calls, lots of good stuff.
We love it all.
We've been rolling for a while here. It's 7:45 p.m. Central Standard Time.
You're time Nazi in this shit, aren't you?
No, I'm just trying to get a feel for if people want to continue to ask questions or what we want to finish
Pit
up
Viper.
with here.
Yeah.
Pit Viper.
The
Those
fuck
are the
is
glasses.
That's the website.
Oh, you figured
those
it
are
out.
the glasses. Straight
Jordan
out of
Riley.
Yeah.
My good man from Capture Creative, which if you don't know about Capture Creative, go check them out.
I've heard
They're
of
the best.
Capture Creative.
So
Well, I'm friends with them guys on Instagram.
Good shit.
here's Pit Viper.
Jordan and his cousin.
Oh yeah,
Check
you're
that
right.
out.
That is fully 80s. We've come full circle.
Well,
Fashion does
more
this.
like early 90s, but it's pretty good. I mean, that's
I hate to say it, but all the little diesel douche kids that run around in their grandpa's diesel
That's pretty great.
have those on.
so good.
That's funny.
I mean, I
Sorry.
can't see myself
I just
on
blew
a
it.
jet ski any other way.
Yes.
Yeah, you're like, what's that dude? Eastbound
you're
and Down.
retired now, so you could grow the mullet.
I'm
I could
retired
see you
as of
rocking a
Friday.
mullet.
I'm actually, my girlfriend told me I need to grow my hair out and my beard again.
Good
So
luck with that. It's going to be really hard for you to grow your hair out after having those military cuts.
I gotten back from Afghanistan in 2017, and I had like a beard down in the middle of my chest,
Mhm.
and my hair was pretty long. And she was like, "Do not shave that, and do not get rid of that beard."
Oh,
So-
all right.
There you go.
So she likes the chesticles.
but I had to. So
Yeah.
it's coming back
Chesticles.
next year when I'm
That
next
just got weird.
a little bit. But that's all right.
Yeah.
Next year when I'm on this,
Come on, it gets weird every episode. Who the hell doesn't listen to the
damn
show where it doesn't get weird?
Oh,
It's like part of the expectation of the show. Who wants some drop time moonshine?
I mean, is it cold still?
No, probably not. It looks like it's melted on the freaking
It's still
table.
cold.
I'll take a little bit there, but it's
A
gonna
little
be the
cooler
last thing I
downer?
drink because it seems like it's sweeter.
It made it pop. So the drop time moonshine is like an apple based. They try to make their products like about deer. Their vodka is we have the corn vodka up there, which I
That is so
tried,
awesome.
but I don't like regularly drink it. And then their moonshine is apple based.
The moonshine's nice.
The bourbon is just bourbon, but it's got a big giant bucket in it called
that
12
could be
Point Bourbon.
enjoyed
so
at any time of the day.
we've been enjoying the shit out of it tonight. So
you have.
I've had 2 glasses and I feel great. It's been
I'm
a
not
very-
as professional
I tell you what,
as you.
kid 3 is on the way. It's been a very stressful week. My son is like actively trying to kill himself at all hours of the day. He fell off his slide yesterday and cracked his head on the fucking pavement. Excuse my
goodness.
language, but I about had a damn
He's
heart
alive
attack.
still.
And then 2 days before
That's
that, he'd
a-
missed a
that's a mark
step
in the
and
wind
bashed his
column.
nose in the fucking pavement. I'm like,
Hey, man, he's not happy with what you gave him.
It's just
He's
so
remodeling
difficult to be a boy dad for that reason.
All good.
I'm really struggling, guys. If anybody has any tips for raising a Evil Knievel stunt child, I don't know what
I just
to do.
told Holly.
Did she talk about it when you were getting here?
Michelin
That's what
Man
I'm talking
suit.
about.
Michelin Man suit, dude.
It's
Put it on him.
Do you have boys?
Yeah, I have one boy.
What? My daughter is like the most cautious human in the world.
Yeah, my oldest daughter's the same way.
And my son is like, I don't know. I feel like he's in a constant argument with gravity.
Well, my son's in a constant argument with life. I mean,
That's our job as boys and men, right?
Alex says
Argue
get a
with
helmet.
life.
I'm considering it, Alex. Honestly, like, do I need to get a helmet? Alex, please.
Helmet.
Who's
yeah.
been?
Oh, nice.
Helmet, face mask, hockey. Go with a hockey helmet. There's a little more face
The level of
there.
like, I feel like my blood pressure has got to be through the roof, but because of just him. And so we're having another child, and it's a boy. And I'm like,
for you. Hey, cheers to the boy.
Cheers to the boy.
I'll pour something in my glass. I'm like out of alcohol here. We'll do some of the moonshine.
Here's your shine.
That's my shine. I'm going to do that.
Don't drink all that shine.
I'm not drinking that.
It's all, but it's also not very alcoholic.
I'm drinking all of the shine.
I sent you some quotes from yourself.
All of it.
I saw that.
Okay.
That's full range.
Yeah,
Okay.
full range ass hat mode. He's just being a
That's
dick.
full range. No, but it's good.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is good. This is good content. I can't turn it off, right?
This podcast is going to get deleted from the internet.
It's not. If you have any questions, we'll hang out for like another 5 minutes. So, call us. We want to hear from you. This is a two-way conversation. This is a national radio show.
Could be a four-way conversation.
Oh, don't get weird here.
It did get weird.
How many?
I went there.
Do I need to bring my? No, never mind.
I
I'm not
had
gonna bring
I
my
had
wife
to
in this room.
trade places with you just once. Okay, you're the one that makes it weird.
What do you
Not
mean
me,
that? What?
You.
I don't get that.
He said four-way, and I was like,
four-way.
Gotcha.
yeah. And I just assume another dude's going to call. So I was like, oh, do I need to bring my wife in this room? But that got real weird.
It
Really
did.
weird. Really quick.
You just totally jacked that up.
This has been great fun.
This is great.
Well,
Thank you,
put a
Alex,
little-
for the congrats.
Little drop time spirits makes everything fun.
But we'll be happy to take another call.
Yeah.
And by the way, Drop Time Spirits, like they're highly affiliated with Field Ethos. And we talked with the CFO of Field Ethos, 2 months ago? Who was a former NFL player, by the way.
Yep.
I
That
listened
was
to
a
that
fun
podcast.
episode.
That was a good podcast.
Mm-hmm. Weird connections. I tell
All
you.
the time.
Podcasting is just some weird, not weird in like a bad way, but just like, who would have thought, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Us. Just you and
yeah,
me.
yeah. Let's talk to an NFL player about deer hunting.
Yeah, and
'Cause
normally I'm
what life
talking
am
to
I living?
contractors on a day-to-day basis about what their plumbing and heating products.
And didn't he
are,
leave
so-
the NFL to hunt more?
Yes.
Or wasn't that one of
Well,
his
no, but he
reasons?
said
was.
he's like, well, you know, I got to travel a lot, so then I would always try to find like ways to hunt in different states. But a lot of the other there's only one other NFL player that he mentioned that we would maybe even talk to that he's like, no one else cared. Everyone else was all about getting drunk and doing fun shit and doing whatever. He's like, I just wanted to go hunt. So he wasn't like,
That's disappointing.
yeah, he wasn't having a lot of camaraderie in that aspect there. He was missing on it because of
It
his.
shows you as hunters how small of the general popularity we really are.
Mhm.
And that's why we need to stick together and try and help each other out. And I know it's very tough.
And way back in the day, I talked to an MLB player about the same thing.
There you go.
Way back when I first started the podcast back in like, I don't know when.
And who
when
was
did I
that?
start this thing? I don't remember. He played for the Marlins,
He was that big.
but it was a long time ago.
How long have you been doing this?
2013,
Wow.
but inconsistently. And then 27,
You're pretty consistent these days.
2018, 19, I started,
19.
Then we started doing, we're going to do this.
I
every
almost
Tuesday.
always tune in myself here.
That's nice.
Yeah,
You're
we
the one
see you.
viewer
You
usually.
say hello, fellas, and
Mhm.
give us
No, I
cool
say good
emoji.
evening, Eric
Or-
and Greg.
Yeah,
That's what I
that
say.
too. That too.
Greg doesn't get to see the screen.
Oh,
No.
that's right.
He could. I have another computer over there and over there and over there.
We don't need to add more shit to the mix here.
Oh,
All right, guys. Well, I don't see any other calls coming in, so we're
No.
going to end the live stream. We appreciate everyone tuning in, joining the commentary. Lots of comments that came through. So if we missed any, we'll go back and revisit this when we're sober.
Thanks, guys.
We'll add some value. And thanks for the call, Michael Pike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.